Well, with the developments that came in last evening, let's put out as far as the pictures and multiple videos that have now come to light right after Iran launched barrage of ballistic missiles at Israel. Missile attack and forces when it comes to the Israeli citizens. They were forced to take shelter in bunkers in Iran's Iron Dome. As far as Israel's Iron Dome is seen intercepting when it comes to the incoming missiles. The IDF, however, claiming that at least 180 of those missiles were fired by Iran into Israel, and what is being said that they targeted when it comes to Israel's military bases, and Israel has now warned Iran that the attack will have consequences. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has ordered deployment of US Army in the Middle East, and with those developments that are now coming to light, this seems to be the escalation that has now taken place. Let's take a look at these pictures that came in last evening where sirens were blasting, and this is coming at a time when hundreds and hundreds of missiles, you can see, lit up the sky in Israel, many of them being intercepted when it comes to Israel's Iron Dome. But however, there were already warnings that were issued and precautions that were taken, and people there in Israel were asked to take shelter. Meanwhile, when it comes to IDF, they have said that following their ground operations that continue in Lebanon, however, Iran would now have to pay for the consequences. Let's in the meantime get you the details of now coming in from the Israeli Prime Minister himself, Benjamin Netanyahu. His first response that is now coming in post this attack that Iran has fired rockets and missiles at Israel, saying that Iran will now pay for its actions. Netanyahu, meanwhile, has thanked the United States for its support. Remember, it was the US and its agencies that first alerted Israel that there is a possibility of Iranian attack.
הערב איראן שוב תקפה את ישראל במאות טילים. המתקפה הזאת נכשלה. היא סוכלה בזכות מערך ההגנה האווירי של ישראל, שהוא המתקדם ביותר בעולם, ואני מברך את צה"ל על ההישג המרשים. היא גם סוכלה בזכות הערנות והאחריות שגיליתם אתם, אזרחי ישראל. ואני מודה גם לארצות הברית על תמיכתה במאמץ ההגנה שלנו. איראן עשתה הערב טעות גדולה, והיא תשלם על כך. המשטר באיראן לא מבין את נחישותנו להגן על עצמנו ואת נחישותנו לגמול לאויבינו. אלה שלא מבינים זאת, הם יבינו. נעמוד בכלל שקבענו. מי שתוקף אותנו, אנחנו תוקפים אותו. זה נכון בכל מקום כשאנחנו נלחמים בציר הרשע. זה נכון ליהודה ושומרון, זה נכון לעזה, ללבנון, לתימן, לסוריה, וזה נכון גם לאיראן. אנחנו נלחמים בציר הרשע בכל מקום.
Well, let's get in a word from Rishabh now. Rishabh, this has been quite an escalation now that is now happening in the Middle East, with Iran now responding to the assassinations carried out by the IDF.
Well, definitely the way the Middle East is evolving, the way tensions are escalating in the whole of the region is worrisome. Initially, we saw that the offenses have been launched by Israel in southern Lebanon earlier yesterday, and the way IDF confirmed that they were undergoing limited incursions in areas which they believe are controlled by Hezbollah along the blue line in southern Lebanon. But by the end of the day yesterday, we saw Iran firing rockets, and multiple hundreds of rockets were fired from Iran to Israel. Now, has been confirmed by Iran as well. Most of the Israeli citizens were taken to bomb shelter as per their government. Now the tensions have increased. The U.S. has deployed more troops in the Middle East. The U.S. troops have been asked to assist Israel. While all this is happening, Israel, Jordan and Iraq have closed their airspaces to ensure that there are no fighter jets scrambling in the sky. But definitely, with every passing hour, the situation
Well, this is a huge escalation that has now been seen in the Middle East, something that was also anticipated, with the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu thanking the United States for its support and also issuing a warning saying that Iran has now made a big mistake and they will pay for it. The regime in Iran does not understand our determination to defend ourselves and the determination to retaliate against our enemies. So now what is now expected as far as Israel is concerned to give an answer to Iran as this escalation of conflict that has now been witnessed in the Middle East in Iran last evening when it launched dozens of ballistic missiles onto Israel, forcing when it comes to Israeli citizens to rush to bomb shelters. Israel's Iron Dome that was seen in action with the Israeli Defense Forces claiming that large number of missiles were intercepted mid-air and only few of them hit central and southern areas. Sirens that continue to blare across Israel with the IDF now, which has been claiming that there were around 180 missiles that were fired by Iran. With those pictures that have been coming in, several videos that have been shared on social media platforms, Israel has now decided to close its airspace following the attack. Shortly after, Jordan also announced temporary closure of its airspace, urging citizens to stay at home for safety. As far as Iran is concerned, the Revolutionary Guards have issued a statement on the missile attack, calling it as a response to the assassination of the Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, and also senior Iran military unit General Abbas. Now, the statement that the attack was as per directions given from the Supreme Council and that dozens of missiles were launched to target military bases in Israel.
Iran launched a large-scale attack of over 180 ballistic missiles directly from Iranian soil at the State of Israel. There were a small number of hits in the center of Israel and some other hits in the southern Israel. The majority of the incoming missiles were intercepted by Israel and a defensive coalition led by the United States. Iran's attack is a severe and dangerous escalation. There will be consequences. Our defensive and offensive capabilities are at the highest levels of readiness. Our operational plans are ready. We will respond wherever, whenever, and however we choose.
Obviously, this is a significant escalation by Iran, a significant event, and it is equally significant that we were able to step up with Israel and create a situation in which no one was killed in this attack in Israel, so far as we know at this time. We are now going to look at what the appropriate next steps are to secure, first and foremost, American interests, and then to promote stability to the maximum extent possible.
Well, let's get you what the United Nations now had to say, with the Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who has condemned the broadening of Middle Eastern conflict and has called for an immediate ceasefire. Taking to social media platform, he asserted that this must stop and appealed for a ceasefire. But moments later, Israel reacted to his post saying that we condemn your inability to hold Iran responsible for firing 180 missiles and targeting 10 million Israeli civilians.
This morning, in a statement, the Secretary General expressed his extreme concern with the escalation of the conflict in Lebanon. He appeals for an immediate ceasefire. An all-out war must be avoided at all costs, he said, and the territorial integrity of Lebanon must be respected. The Secretary General spoke earlier this morning to Prime Minister Najib Mikati of Lebanon. He told the Prime Minister that the United Nations system in Lebanon was fully mobilized to assist all those in need in the country. The Secretary General's representatives on the ground will continue their efforts to do everything possible to de-escalate the situation.